So much for joining us here on First Alert 6 Streaming. I'm Cerise Cole, along with meteorologist Jared Lansford, the senior chief meteorologist Rusty Lord. And the talk of the morning is how cool it is right now. We are in the 40s.
Yesterday we were in the 60s, so do not use yesterday as a judge for today. You will be disappointed, or shocked, or surprised. Here's what's out there right now, though. Plenty of 40s. It's chilly when you step out. I got a lot of little things going on this morning. It's cold. You got some wildfire smoke that's moving through the area. That's giving us that colorful sunrise. Plus, you can see some valley fog showing up again in the Missouri River Valley, and it's mostly just in the valleys. So Jared will be talking about that over the course of the next half hour. But I'm going to talk about the chilly air. We're at 48, dew point of 47, so the air almost saturated, and that's why we're seeing the fog form. You notice it's actually a little bit warmer near the river, 48 to 49 Crescent, down to 44 in Bennington, 46 in Elkhorn. This is not the coldest morning in the forecast either, folks. So you are going to be in for a treat if you like this fall weather when we get to the weekend forecast. Look at that, 41 in Carroll, 41 in Harlan. There could be some 30s this weekend. And if it's going to happen, it'll be in west central Iowa. So first alert to that. Over the course of Saturday and Sunday morning. More on that in a minute. We got to talk about air quality because we do have some wildfire smoke in the area. It's on the yellow, moderate range. And once it starts to get into the oranges and the reds, that's when we really start to have some issues around the area. Don't have any signs of that yet. There's some pretty poor air quality up in Western Canada, Pacific Northwest. That will be diving southeast, at least the smoke producing that will. I'm hoping that a lot of that smoke stays elevated, though, and doesn't impact the air quality at the surface. And at worst, just creates some hazy skies today. So you might smell a little smoke out there this morning. Pause it at 11 o'clock here. But notice through the afternoon, look at this thicker plume of smoke that dives in for the afternoon hours. That, at the very least, will give us hazy skies. At the worst, could give us some poor air quality. The question in an event like this, how much stays up here and how much can make it down to the surface where we are? So we'll see what settles down as it drops in. But it's just for today. Notice Friday morning already starting to push south. Friday afternoon, it's south and out of here, and we get a much better day, at least in terms of smoke, by Friday. Now, there's a system up to our northwest diving out of Canada as well. That also trying to drag some of the smoke in, but it could spark a couple of thunder showers later on today. And that's why after 6 o'clock, our storm chances go up a little bit. So another thing to watch, storm chances this evening, 6 to about 11 o'clock. Not a widespread round of storms, but just enough that you could be caught under a downpour and be surprised this evening. Well, I don't want you to be surprised, so that's why we're talking about it. By 5 o'clock, you can see some storms to the north. Very few of these sneaking into our northern counties by 6. And then we head towards 7, a couple of those trying to strengthen just a little bit. If there's going to be a strong storm, I think near and east of the river would be the best bet. There's not the perfect ingredients to get these going. So there's not even a severe risk area on the map for today, but there could be a spotty, very isolated strong storm that maybe produces a little wind and hail. Most of these will stay weak though and give us some downpours and then just reinforce the chilly air. Notice by 10 o'clock, they're mostly gone. And then there's the cooler air that'll settle in. And tomorrow morning actually doesn't fall off into the 40s. Should have 50s to start off. It's a cooler afternoon we get tomorrow with 66 and then 71 on Saturday. So any rain that's out there in the morning tomorrow, probably in the southern part of our viewing area and moving out pretty quickly.
Okay, good to know. I see the big N there. So we have to ask about, yes. Tell us more about the Husker game day forecast.
First home game, and it's still looking phenomenal. Now, remember, it's a night game, so you got to plan accordingly as the temperature will cool down, 6:30 kickoff. So we'll get up into the low 70s for a high. That happens about 4 to 5 o'clock. By 6:30, we're down in the 60s and cooling through the 60s. You'll want a coat for the end of this one. If you're staying all the way to the end, it'll get chilly by the end of it. Quite the opposite if you're heading to the Cyhawk game in Ames. It'll start chilly. Then the question is, do I bring this coat in with me to the game? And I want to hang on to it. A little bit of a northwest breeze could gust to 25 miles per hour, but with an 11 a.m. kick, we'll warm up to near 70 by the end of that game. Muggy meter also goes up next week. It's very, very pleasant this weekend. It goes up next week. And we've been telling you, we're not done with summer. We have some 80s on the way next week, and some of those keep trying to trend a little warmer every day. So mornings in the 60s and humidity and afternoons in the 80s.
I'm still thinking about you need a coat for that game.
Yeah, a little. The end of the game is going to be chilly. You'll regret it if you didn't.
All right, that's a good heads up, Rusty. All right, let's talk some traffic this morning. We have a crash you want to tell us about.
Yeah, let's start off in Millard. This is where this crash is in place, and it's unfortunately right near a school, so there's going to be a lot of traffic that's heading in that area. So let's check in on it. It's 144th and N, so we're pretty close to Bryan Elementary with this. Now, thankfully so far, the traffic seems like it's getting through this area in okay shape. Hopefully we can keep that as the case as they continue to work that scene, but you can see that it's looking okay right now, right around there. It's actually a little bit slower just up the road with the traffic heading northbound. Watch for that here as you're starting off. We'll keep you posted on the latest with that crash there at 144th and N. Elsewhere, a lot of our delays are tied with some of our familiar suspects here. I-80 as you're going near Giles. Look at that backing up. Thankfully, it's not quite as bad as yesterday. Yesterday, we were seeing things get all the way into the 680 interchange. It's not quite that bad yet. We'll keep an eye on it, let you know if that does start to happen. Then the 680 interchange with Dodge. You can see how that ramp is very slow as you're making your way northbound and then trying to head to westbound Dodge. You've got some of the delays on that ramp as well. Another spot where things happen slow is the JFK. Starting to improve a little bit, but you can see that ramp also pretty slow as we're increasing the traffic load to go to I-80. So those are the slowest areas. We've also got a little bit of some fog that we're watching out for this morning. Some of that fog, smoke, grayness as we're getting things up and running. So watch for that murkiness. Might not be a bad idea to have those headlights turn on.
That's a good idea. All right, Jared, thank you. To your news now, we do have an update this morning on Omaha Streetcar. So the planners say they will begin mainline construction in January. What does that mean? Well, it means the guideways will be put into the street to support those tracks. The work will also include power systems along with stops and platforms. Streetcars will start showing up in 2027 for testing, and the plan is to have service begin sometime in 2028. Happening today, University of Nebraska President Dr. Jeffrey Gold is set to give his State of the University address. He plans to touch on issues facing all of higher education and how Nebraska's 4 campuses will navigate those challenges. Just last month, we told you the university system was working to close a $20 million budget gap by the end of the fiscal year. Well, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office is launching a new sheltering assistance program. It would allow people to open their homes to a person or family experiencing homelessness. There is a form to fill out if you want to participate. It asks about housing considerations and the accommodations you would provide. The Open Door Mission tells us they support this idea.
We want to have a conversation that leads to getting people to get together, all the community members to get together, to be able to come up with a solution that is both humane. It deals with the cities and Nebraskans' responsibilities for its fellow citizens and is sustainable.
Well, there is a vetting process for both the person willing to open up their home and the person they would be housing. Right at the safety desk with Maria Cade right now. If you have a diet pop a day, and many people do, and you do it every day, it could impact your memory.
There's a new study we want to tell everybody about. It's from the journal Neurology, and they're finding that people that have high levels of those artificial sweeteners, like in Diet Pepsi or Diet Pops, they had a harder time remembering and recalling their words, actually. And they say that high level equals just 1 can a day. That's all it takes. Researchers at the University of Sao Paulo say people who drank the most sweeteners had a 62% faster cognitive decline than people who didn't. And then that is actually equivalent to a 1.5 years of your brain aging. So think about if you have that pop every single day. That'll add up pretty quick.
It does add up. I try to give up sweeteners. Like I used to put Equal in my tea. Now I just don't put anything in it.
There you go. Little progress.
Yeah. Baby steps, right? All right, Maria, good information. Thank you so much. And we're back after this short break. All right, hard to believe. This time yesterday morning we were in the 60s. Not the case now. So if you have kids heading out, they're going to want something, grab something warmer.
Yeah, longer sleeves definitely in order today. Temperatures even a little cooler than what I had in the forecast. We have right around 50 for the kids heading to the drop-off this morning, and these numbers probably just a little bit too warm. We have a lot more 40s, upper 40s on the map. You can see just updating here with upper 40s here at 7 and 8 o'clock. 53 by 9, so it's chilly, about 47 to 48, and good portion of the metro, 44 in Bennington. So there's some cooler pockets out there, folks, even when you get on the Iowa side, down to 41 in Carroll and Harlan. So we have a cool morning in some of those valleys of the Les Hills. It'll be interesting to see if there's any 30s on some home thermometers this morning. But the southwest wind will warm us up, gusting 20 to 25 late in the afternoon. Then overnight could have some gusts near 30 miles per hour. But notice, it flips from the southwest to the northwest later this evening, and that's as some cooler air starts to work its way in. Also trying to drag in a little wildfire smoke today before it chases it out tomorrow. I'm going to show you this. This is some thinner smoke out there right now, but another plume could move in this afternoon. Model's been pretty consistent with this over the last 24 hours, really thickening up this afternoon, creating a haze, and then by 5, 6 o'clock early tomorrow morning, it starts to drop south and out, and it should clear out and make for a much better day on Friday. But you're probably going to notice that smoke out there over the course of the day today. Now, we show you the clear skies we'd have otherwise if it weren't for the smoke by 5 o'clock. But watch out for a spotty storm here. 6, 7 o'clock in our northern counties. Not too much to these, but some isolated downpours. Maybe one of these becomes a stronger storm, but overall the severe risk not even showing up on the severe weather outlook map where we show you that scale 1 through 5. It doesn't have anything. At least it didn't as of this morning. We'll get another update here heading towards 7:30, 8 o'clock. By 10, most of those are out of the area, and then the rest of the night should be quiet. Heading towards a weekend that looks pretty good. The afternoons are going to be great. 66 Friday, 71 and 72 over the weekend. But here's the key, chilly mornings in the 40s. I mentioned how we're in the 40s over much of the area this morning. We are likely going to go even cooler yet in the metro, down in the lower 40s, and that could produce some 30s in some of the valleys of the Les Hills, especially and on the Iowa side. Watch that, though, and notice the warming trend on the way for Tuesday. You can see that starting to show up right there, but the cool weekend is what we're going to enjoy. The afternoons look great. Saturday and Sunday. Too bad it's not an afternoon game down in Lincoln. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Usually you worry about sweating like crazy for these early games. That will not be the case this week.
Oh my goodness, doesn't sound like it. Okay, so if this isn't your jam, you don't like the cooler temps, these fall-like temps, sounds like the heat and humidity is coming back soon.
Yeah, by the way, this is my jam.
I know this is your jam.
Yeah, but we have something for later on. You got some 80s and some humidity on the way. Back to the low to mid 80s. I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 of these days trends a little warmer too. So next weekend's game against Houston Christian should be a little bit warmer. And notice the dew points going up to back into the muggy range by the middle of next week. And you can even see longer range looking out a little farther. Warmer than average going to win out. Now, average is in the low 80s by then, so that's going to probably be a longer stretch in the middle of the month where we're talking about 80s, the way things are looking. So if you want your fall, it's probably right now and through the weekend, and then we'll see when it tries to come back.
That's my jam, those 80s.
Those are your, okay.
Yeah.
He's got a different jam.
Everybody does. All right, we have some traffic to talk about. We're dealing with the colder temperatures, we know that, but we're also dealing with the fog out there this morning.
Yeah,
how is that impacting traffic?
There's some spots where it's definitely lower visibility.
Okay.
Now, it's going to be, you're looking around and you're going to see gray. Now, that may not be fog. It may be smoke that you're seeing. And we've got a little bit of both that we're dealing with as we start things off. But you can look in the upper left there. That's right near the Mormon Bridge. You look in the distance. You can see that there is a little bit of fog. It's not as widespread as some of the mornings that we have had over the last couple of weeks, but it's definitely there. So be ready for that first alert to that potentially impacting your drive as you're heading out the door. And you can see when you look at the map, there's some pockets where it is definitely affecting things. You get on the east side of Council Bluffs, you're near zero visibility right around the airport. And then you've also got Millard where you're looking at things looking a little bit more difficult to see in that area. When you zoom things out, you've got some pockets in the Les Hills up toward Denison where you're looking at that visibility also taking a hit. So this will improve in a couple of hours here, but for the time being, you're about to head out the door. You need to watch out for that. Still watching this area of 144th and N, still moving along in pretty good shape despite that crash. Continue to use some caution if you're driving in that area here in the short term, but looks like we're handling that in okay shape at this point. And most of our delays are where you would expect them to be. Starting to flare up here on eastbound Dodge. That typically gets pretty slow right around 168th at the peak of the commute. So that's something to watch out for. A little slower than usual on 370 in both directions between I-80 and 204th. So be ready for that as you're heading through that stretch. Of course, you got some school traffic there, but just in general, looking a little bit sluggish at this point in the morning. But we're looking at a decent commute if you can work around that fog and some of those slowdowns.
All right, Jared, thanks for the heads up. Well, the man accused of killing Creighton's baseball director will stay in custody for years. A judge sentenced Liddell Thornton to 47 years over a gun charge in an unrelated case. In May, Thornton was found not guilty by reason of insanity for the death of Chris Gradeville. Thornton was ordered to stay at a mental health facility. If he is ever found fit to leave that facility, he will still need to serve the prison sentence. It would be around 20 years behind bars. After 2 months in custody, a woman detained by ICE at Glen Valley Foods in June has been released. Sabina Carmona Lorenzo was originally granted bond. It was later denied because of an automatic stay rule from ICE. Her defense argued because she had 0 prior convictions and has ties to the community, she should be released. Her case will continue to move through the federal courts. And more pushback this morning over Nebraska Governor Pillen's plan to turn a work ethic camp in McCook into an ICE detention facility. Now, one man is taking a stand, calling attention to a plan he believes lacks compassion. Paul Fielman is sitting behind a sign in front of the governor's mansion. He says the memories of his family's history and the recent immigration raid made talk of a detention camp very personal.
It does stir up that sense that we are not compassionate enough for all different ethnic backgrounds and so forth. And the situation about creating this camp, detainment camp, just strikes too many chords that you saw with how the Germans were treating people of different ethnic backgrounds in Germany.
Well, Paul says he plans to continue sitting in front of the governor's mansion for about 3 weeks. Still ahead this morning, a sweet return fit for a king. The breakfast treat you could expect to see at Burger King when we come back.
Welcome back now to a Burger King fan favorite sweet treat. It's been gone for 13 years.
That's a long time. So remember the Cine Minis? Well, they're back on the menu, but of course, for a limited time only.
Yes.
The miniature cinnamon rolls with a sweet icing dipping sauce were first introduced back in 1998, but discontinued in 2012. Well, a Change.org petition demanding their return was launched in 2016, picking up thousands and thousands of signatures. This return follows a test run in 2 Florida cities last year. Well, now I want to taste them, and
yeah.
it sounds like
Yeah.
I'll soon be able to.
I think I remember them.
You do? Like a Cinnabon-ish?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
amazing how people upset about food going away can influence and bring them back
Yeah.
at all these restaurants.
But they listen to you,
Yes.
right?
No,
Power
it's
of
been a little
change.
trend. Taco Bell bringing stuff
I know.
back.
How many
Yeah.
stories have we done recently,
Yeah, like,
that-
did it-
especially with the petitions? and
Yeah.
They bring them back.
Get ready for the McRib.
Either
That's
we're very
next.
influential or we have way too much free time. There's somewhere in the middle.
Maybe both. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to get ready for our update into today's show. Of course, you can watch it here on streaming or over the air. We sure hope you have a great day.
Live from WOWT, First Alert 6 starts now.
Good Thursday morning to you. It is 7:26. I'm Cerise Cole. We want to get right to First Alert 6 traffic. Jared has a new crash to First Alert you too.
At a pretty busy intersection too. 168th and Pacific, you're looking at this one. You can see how slow traffic is as you're heading northbound toward this intersection, and also getting some delays now on Pacific as well. So be ready for that. You may run into things not moving quite up to speed, and that's the reason why they're on 168th and Pacific. Keep in mind, as you're making your way along Dodge, you're also looking at some slow travel at this point in the morning. Watch for some fog out there. You've also got some delays that are in place. There's what I was mentioning on Dodge right on 168th. As you're entering the construction zone there on I-80, either direction, you've got things a little sluggish, as well as 370 approaching I-80. Rusty.
Thanks, Jared. Out there, chilly morning for all of us, down in the 40s. We were in the 60s at this time yesterday, so many of these numbers in the metro about 15 degrees cooler out the door. And that's going to be the biggest shock to the system. Also, you're going to smell a little wildfire smoke to go along with these 40s. So you may smell that. There's some fog out there too. And you can see that 24-hour temperature change, about 10 to 20 degrees colder across the map. Air quality in the yellow, so it's lessened a little bit. It's something we're going to have to watch over the course of the day to see if it gets worse, because I think more wildfire smoke will move in and create some hazy skies. And later on tonight, there are some storm chances after 6 o'clock through about 10 or 11 o'clock. Spotty thunderstorms try to fire up and drop north to south through the area. Otherwise, we start off in these 40s and are able to climb to 74 degrees. But remember, that happens with likely some hazy skies due to wildfire smoke.
All right, Rusty, thank you. We do have an updated timeline this morning for the Omaha Streetcar. Planners say main line construction is set to begin in January. Streetcar testing will begin in 2027, and service is set to begin sometime in 2028. Well, it is now 7:28. We are back with another update for you in about 25 minutes. We'll see you then.